welcome back everyone to Mindful Living Podcast with your host Sanam. Today we are diving into the powerful world of healing and holistic wellness with none other than Karen Robinson, LCSW, a true trailblazer in the world of trauma recovery and empowerment. Karen isn't just your average therapist, listeners. She's a powerhouse with 24 years of clinical experience, a survivor herself, and a creator of Heal, Thrive, Dream, a one stop shop for women ready to reclaim their lives. From coaching and therapy to digital empowerment tools, Karen has built a movement that helps women heal, dream, and thrive. But what really sets Karen apart is her focus on the six pillars of healing and holistic wellness, a transformative approach that's helped countless people overcome anxiety, depression, and trauma to live their best lives. Trust me, you are going to want to grab a notebook for this one, listeners. So, whether you are looking to heal from the past, find your balance, or just get inspired, you are in the right place. So, Karen, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute honor to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for hosting me today.
Karen, you built an incredible framework with your six pillars of healing and holistic wellness. So, to begin with, can you give us an overview of these pillars and how they work together?
Sure. I'll start with the six pillars, how they work together, and then you can ask me questions about the intricacies of each, if that's okay, or I can just share more.
Sure, you can share.
So the six pillars are mental health healing, so our thought work, emotional healing, so that's healing our feelings, our reactions, our sensitivities, relational healing, that's with our partners, children, parents, friends, co-workers, and so forth. Physical healing, that's our health, our mobility, chronic pain, any kind of soma or somatics, nutrition, it's all those things. Spiritual healing is either our faith walk, how much hope we have, could be healing moral injuries or any religious trauma that we have gone through. And then the last pillar, the sixth pillar, is energetic healing. And this is learning more about your meridians and how to take your healing to the quantum level. And that's usually through energetic work. How these work together is all six pillars encompass what it would take to do holistic healing. So the mind, body, soul, and then our community, right? So I really feel it encompasses most of what we would want to work on in order to be the healthiest and the best selves that we can be.
Well, that sounds really, really comprehensive, and I believe it starts with the outer pillars: mental, emotional, spiritual. Then it goes deeper and deeper: somatic, nutrition, and of course, it's very comprehensive. So, Karen, would you like us to tell what's the story or journey behind inception of these six pillars? Do you have any personal story which led to the creation of these six pillars?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I myself am a complex trauma survivor. I grew up in a dysfunctional family where there was domestic violence, child abuse, significant poverty. And then I also had some religious confusion. Both of my grandmothers were different religions, and both of them are very empowering women. They had a huge influence on my life. And so I often felt kind of divided on where to go to church or what does it mean to have a relationship with God or spiritual help. But overall, I feel they were more a credit than a liability with my spirituality. But I've always known from a very young age, like I had a suicide attempt at 12 because I was so miserable in my family. And God didn't take my life, didn't allow me to die after overdosing. And so I took that to mean that I must have a bigger purpose that my life has meaning. And so God has always been, my spiritual relationship has always been there. So I knew that was an important part of having hope and healing. And then as I grew up, and became a therapist, I saw that a lot of my clients who had trauma were having a lot of problems with their bodies. Like they would have chronic migraines, irritable bowel syndrome, acid reflux, chronic pain issues, constant back stuff. And my mom, also a complex trauma survivor, had a lot of physical and mental health issues. So I saw it all as being connected. But then after practicing, I don't know, I guess more during the pandemic and so forth, I felt like there was something missing. And I went to a conference, and that's where I learned a little more about energetic healing. And now I'm working on my energetic certifications. I could really see like how we need to be mindful about the company we keep, if they have toxic, unhealthy energy versus being light and love. And just the importance of learning how to surround ourselves with the positive energy and how we can create that for ourselves. So that's when I added that pillar. So now it feels very comprehensive. Of course, what I'm doing now is I'm calling it my 6 pillars plus, because I always feel like there's other areas that we could add to it. For example, like our financial health is really important. It just didn't make the top sets, right? So maybe it's number 7. And of course, there's probably even other examples of things that could be added to here, right?
Mm. Yep. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Karen, for sharing your journey. And also, this is really, really inspiring. And I really appreciate your efforts to help others navigate through tough times with the help of these 6 pillars. Um, okay, so moving on. Hmm. As someone, one of your pillars is about mental health, as you said. So, how do you help clients overcome the stigma or hesitation around seeking help for anxiety or depression?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So stigma seems to be less now in mainstream society. It's still fairly high, for different minority groups, based on people's cultural beliefs or how they grew up. And so how I tend to help with that is I talk a lot about how going to therapy is not a weakness or limitation. It's actually a strength because you are being vulnerable and having the courage to ask for help when it's needed. Now, most people will survive without mental health therapy. So I consider mental health therapy is just life enhancing. It's about your quality of life being improved, the ability to live your best life, right? Now, when I say you don't need mental health therapy to live, I'm not talking about clients that are struggling with suicide, suicide ideation. I'm just talking about people that maybe feel stressed or have issues in their relationships. People can survive without therapy, but in my opinion, it's really about having a better quality of life. And that should be applauded and not criticized, right? So that's how I look at the stigma.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Uh, so, with so many tools and resources available through Heal, Thrive, and Dream, where do you recommend someone begins when they are feeling completely overwhelmed? And along with this, if you could explain, what exactly, uh, how does Heal, Thrive, Dream work?
Yeah. Uh, So our company does offer a lot. The starting point is really individualized. If it's someone who's struggling a lot with depression or anxiety, I may recommend they start with the cognitive behavioral therapy that I offer, because this works at targeting your thoughts and looking how to have a healthier thinking patterns. So I teach clients how to analyze their thoughts and decide if the way that they're thinking, if it's enhancing their life or is it jeopardizing, their goals in life. So CBT sometimes is one of the things I will suggest first. Other people, if they're overwhelmed because of the trauma they have gone through, I have a membership program that offers coaching every month and also a support group with that. So the people are getting my expertise on trauma healing, but they're also getting the support of other women who have gone through, similar situations. So there's collective wisdom, and support groups. And then the themes that I work on every month are, based on these pillars, but also based on nuances within the pillar. So for example, some people with trauma histories have disordered eating, whether that's anorexia, bulimia, or a mixture of both, or emotional eating. We call that now binge eating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's binge eating that doesn't mean that that you have bulimia. It could just be that you binge. And we see that a lot when people are trying to basically numb their feelings. It's sort of why people often turn to drugs and alcohol, is to numb those, those strong feelings that we have that feel really difficult to manage. So I teach people how to manage those emotions, how to emotionally regulate themselves. So that's some of what I offer. I usually offer a free workshop every month as well. So getting on my email list, you'll learn how to have access. And we work on boundaries and how to trust after trauma, how to cope with family, around the holidays. Like, we do a lot of different programs like that. And then my company also does 3 summits a year on something related to trauma. And so our next summit coming up after the new year is going to be focused on all the ways that trauma can impact your physical body, is the one day. And then the second day of the summit is how to heal from that. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that sounds very, very interesting, Karen. And another thing which I wanted to inform our listeners is that you also help women to be, financially independent if they want to explore businesses. You help them with websites or logos or social media management, SEO. Would you like to share something on that with all of us?
Yeah, so I do have a small um, social media, or, well, I guess the better word is digital marketing agency. It's very small, and we hand select. We work with women who are survivors who want to start being an entrepreneur. We offer a consultation. We offer some help with websites and doing graphic design for them, for their logos, or if they want to make journals, whatever they want to work on in their business. If they want to look at e-com as a possible revenue source, or maybe looking at passive income, like, do they want to be an affiliate for Amazon or other programs? So yes, we do offer services to help with that as well.
I think that is really, really empowering. It gives a sense of purpose and fulfillment. It gives a direction to all the women out there who have navigated through really very tough times. So that is really wonderful, Karen. Really wonderful. Great. You emphasize on holistic wellness, with 6 pillars, as you explained in the initial part of the conversation. So, what role do physical habits like nutrition or exercise play in emotional healing?
Well, they're huge. And this is the pillar I personally struggle the most with. So I'm constantly looking at how to make it better. Nutrition matters more to our mood than we gave credit to in the past. Um, the chemicals and additives that have been added to a lot of food really can impact mood and make us feel awful. So looking at your nutrition and trying to get it cleaned up is really helpful. The nutrition is hard because everybody's body is different, not difficult. Everybody's body is different, and it sort of depends on what medical issues you have. Like, some people are very intolerant of wheat or dairy. And so if you eat those foods or those food groups, that can really create havoc on your body. So my suggestion is if your nutrition is not on point or if you're not feeling good about it, start with seeing a nutritionist, someone that really specializes in the field. And because of emotional eating, I usually recommend people add instead of taking away food because our brain kind of does better with that. So I usually recommend starting with just adding more vegetables to your diet. Really, we need about 7 servings a day, and most of us do not get anywhere near that.
Yeah.
So I recommend starting with that. And then with trauma, and even with grief, exercise is one of the first things we tend to let go of when we're busy surviving or if we have demanding jobs. And so for that, I recommend even just any movement, like even a short walk to get out in nature, get some sun. And I recommend these things. And sometimes I feel like a hypocrite because I'm still struggling with doing these things myself. But I want to put it out there that perfection is not required. It's baby steps. It's progress, not perfection. So just doing anything, doing some stretches. You don't have to run a marathon every day, but moving our bodies in general is really therapeutic and healing. And for those of us who've had stored up trauma in our body, doing things like restorative yoga, where you're doing those deep stretches and allowing our bodies to release both emotional and physical tension can be extremely therapeutic.
Right. That's true. That's true. Great. That's a great answer, Karen. Some critics would argue that focusing on holistic wellness can seem inaccessible or even impractical for people who are just trying to get by. So, how would you address this concern?
Well, in some ways, I would agree with them, right? Like it's definitely easier to take care of yourself if you have money and, resources. It's a whole lot easier to take care of yourself. But some of the most important things and deep healing practices cost nothing. And so what I mean by that is one of the deeper healing practices is prayer. It doesn't cost anything to pray. The second one is spiritual reading. There's things on the internet you could read that are uplifting and inspirational. The third is meditation. It doesn't cost anything to close your eyes and meditate. The fourth is journaling. A pen and paper are affordable, or you could always write on a paper towel, right? Like there's ways, or your computer. Most people have access to computers nowadays. You can write on your computer. So honestly, and movement, it doesn't cost anything to go for a short walk. Yeah. Like almost all of us have 10 minutes that we could add a walk to. Talking, it doesn't cost anything to call up a friend to say, hey, I'm struggling. Can I talk to you about this? Now I understand like things like therapy and coaching, those have cost and you might have to, save or invest in yourself in that way. But the true deep healing practices that heal trauma and heal grief, they cost nothing. They just take a little bit of time and effort.
True. Absolutely true. Wow. That's a great answer once again, Karen. So before we wrap up this beautiful conversation, um, many of our listeners are juggling a lot: careers, families, personal growth, and too much of social anxiety and all things happening around. Especially women, we have a lot on our plate. So, what's your advice for integrating these pillars into a busy everyday life without feeling even more stressed?
Yeah, I really love this question because it's one I sort of ask myself on the daily. And so with the deeper healing practices, I don't focus on doing all of them every day. I just ask myself, like, okay, what would be the best fit for today? So, for example, I had something hard happen this week. And so this morning I decided that writing about that and expressing my feelings, getting it out of my body and onto the paper, that that's something I really wanted to do today. So I spent some time writing that out. So it depends on the day. It's good to ask yourself, tap into your intuition. It's like, what would really help me today? What would really soothe me? What do I really need? And other days, the first thing I want to do is just kind of do some stretching, get the kinks out of my body.
Mm, that is inspiring. I think that really sets the stage well in terms of how exactly we can start. Just take the first small baby step towards this journey of healing, and also holistic wellness. So if our listeners, they want to get in touch with you, Karen, and explore more about the work you are doing and about your 6 pillars of healing and holistic wellness, how they can do that.
Sure. The easiest way is through my website, healthrivedream.com. And then I'm also happy to share my email for any questions. And that's healthrivedream@gmail.com.
Right. We'll have the details mentioned in the show notes for our listeners. And Karen, thank you so much for this enlightening and empowering conversation and sharing your wisdom, your journey, and the incredible work you are doing to help others heal and thrive. So thank you so much.
Thank you again for hosting me today.
And to all our listeners, I would like to add that healing isn't about perfection, as Karen rightly said. It's about progress. Whether it's taking that first small step or diving deeper into holistic wellness, every effort counts. If today's conversation inspired you, make sure to check out Karen's platform, Heal, Thrive, Dream, for more resources, coaching, and tools to guide you. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it with someone who might need a little extra encouragement today. Leave us a review. Let us know how we are doing. Subscribe to the podcast and let us know your favorite takeaway from today's talk. Until next time, stay mindful, stay balanced, and remember you have the power to heal and thrive. See you soon on The Mindful Living. Thank you.